guys, this is Jay. Welcome to Friday Night Magic. Dilly's here with me. Hello. Today we're gonna play. One game. Yeah. Basically, how it's gonna work is we're gonna play Magic, and I'm gonna kick Dilly's butt. Obviously. Yeah. But for now, we're gonna tell you about our casual decks. So stay tuned for that, 'cause it's gonna happen. Right. So my deck. My deck is a fungus deck. This one of the oldest decks I have. I think it's. I had this when I was in high school, and it's fun. The way it works is it tries to make as many saplings as possible by having a number of creatures in play that at the beginning of my turn they get a spore counter, and when they do, when I have 3 spore counters on it, I can remove 3, and then I make a 1/1 sapling creature, and these creatures are called Thalids. So this deck is chock full of Thalids and just synergies all around. And the way it tries to work, or tries to win, is to have a creature called a Herdnar in play, which gets +2/+2 every time a creature comes into play, and to put an enchantment called, where are you? Fallen Ideal onto the Herdnar, which gives it flying, and whenever I sacrifice a creature, the creature that's enchanted, which is going to be Herdnar, will get +2/+1. So then the plan is get a Herdnar, get a bunch of Thalids, get Fallen Ideal, feed a ginormous amount of creatures for Herdnar, and then win. So that's what I'm going to try.
And I will be playing my green and blue Simic deck, because I just really love the Simic Combine. I love the crazy creature contraptions they go after. And how the Simic Combine works, well, it works with just putting a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters on your creatures. And I'm playing with the new Simic Combine, so they work around Evolve. And a creature with Evolve, well, let's take my favorite card in the Magic Gathering, actually. Crocodile! He's a crocodile and a frog at the same time. Can you believe it? So he's a 1/3 Reach Evolve. So the Reach, we know, it can block flyers, but the Evolve means that as soon as another creature enters the battlefield under my control with a higher power or a higher toughness, Kokonua, he's like, oh, I can match that up, and gets 1/1/1 counter. So say I have my Kokonua out, and then I get a He's Shambles Shark, can you believe it? He's like a pregnant hammerhead shark with crab legs and swords. So if I have my Kokonura, it's 1/3, I get my Shambles Shark, and Kokonura's like, oh, well, your power is higher than mine, so I'll get a +1/+1 counter. That's how Evolve works. And so basically I'm just going to throw down a lot of crazy creatures that are going to get bigger with +1/+1 counters. And my deck has a few champions, one of which is the Master Biomancer. It's a mythic rare, and he does not have Evolve himself, but he starts out as a 2/4. And my other creatures, when they enter, they get +1/+1 counters equal to its power, so basically 2, which can cause more evolving Cruddies to happen, and I'll have +1/+1 counters everywhere. And basically my win condition is get big or die trying.
Hi guys, this is Jay. Welcome to our first episode of Friday Night Magic. Currently, Dilly and I are rolling to see who goes first. Looks like Dilly's going first, drawing back to 7. Almost, Jay almost draws to 8. Or in this case, me. Looks like Dilly's keeping. Looks like Jay's keeping as well. Ready to start. So, these stacks matchup's going to be pretty interesting. I think we first see a Simic Guildgate coming into play for Dilly and a Forest for Jay. And Jay plays a Utopia Mycon, which is a Thalit that can sacrifice a sapling to make some manas, which is pretty good. Dilly passing again. So the Guildgate's pretty good in Dilly's deck. Fixes his mana, fits with his deck's theme. And the fact that it comes into play tapped isn't that big of a drawback because Dilly doesn't really have that many turn 1 plays. So Jay playing an Evolving Wilds, which is a land that you can sacrifice to search for a basic land. He looks for Swamp. Dilly playing Crocodafra Crocanura. Such a good card, such a good name. Yeah. Just waiting until Jay's done shuffling his deck, which is now. So the dice on the Utopia Mycon shows how many spore counters are on it at this point. It's currently 2. Just 1 more, and then Jay can start making sapperlings and start making manas as well, which is pretty good. Pretty deep into tank here. Plays a forest. Not sure what I had in my hand at this point in the game, or what Jay had in his hand. Plays a Thalit Germinator, which is a Thalit, just like everything else, that feigning the attack there, that you can sacrifice saplings to give one of your creatures +2/+2, which is pretty good as well. Makes combat math really hard. But here, Dilly is with his signature card, the Master Biomancer. So, Master Biomancer is a pretty big headache. If Jay doesn't have an answer for it at this point, takes 2 from the Croconora. But if he doesn't have an answer to it at this point, this Dilly's probably going to run away with this game. Oop, slight nudge at the camera there. You see the Utopia Mycon taking up to 3, which means that Jay can start making sapperlings now. There is a oh, just like in Evolving Wilds, I'm not sure what it is again. Yeah, just Jay, you can use it to search up another basic land. Oh, instantly killing, or at least at sorcery speed killing, the Master Biomancer. And, yeah, searching another land. So the reason Jay did that at sorcery speed is because if he waited until Dilly had cast a creature to kill the Master Biomancer, the creature would still come into play with the +1/+1 counters, because the ability would trigger. I think, at least that's what my thinking was at that point. You see Dilly a bit deeper into tank here than he was before. Plays another Master Biomancer. Oh geez, that's where things start to get out of hand. Another nudge at the table. Another attack with the Croconora. Jay takes it, goes down to 16. He does. And then taps. Doesn't. Oh, looks like he forgot to take up his creatures, but because it's a mandatory trigger, that'll probably happen right about now. So Dilly's deck. Dilly's deck is pretty good. It's a lot of synergies going on. Yep, taking up now. A lot of synergies going on, and the fact that it really builds like all of his creatures, even the ones that are not that impressive early game, become real threats late game due to the Master Biomancer, which is a very solid card. Jay plays a Deathspore Thalit and another one, which allows him to kill creatures. Like if he can sacrifice a sapling, you give a creature -1/-1, and it's a Thalit as well. So that's pretty good. Passes to turn back. This is not a great position for Jay to be in at this point. The threat of the Master Biomancer is still looming. So Dilly's in the tank. You can see that Jay's a grizzled veteran of the game, shuffling his cards around. Doing some math here. So the Master Biomancer still is at this point the most threatening creature on the table. We haven't really seen Jay make any sapperlings yet, or in this case me, because I tend to sort of store them on my Thalits, and that's a Bow of Nylea, which is not a good sign for Jay, but probably still better than a creature. Another nudge at the table there. So we see the Bow of Nylea. Yeah, but I tend to store spore counters on my creatures and then sort of just make a big mass of saplings in one go, because it tends to make it harder for your opponents to interact with your creatures just because you can do anything at any point. And if you have the saplings on the table waiting for them to be interacted with, things like, for example, Drown in Sorrow can instantly kill all your creatures and sort of undo all your work. And if you keep them stored in your creatures, they're safer. So Dilly doesn't play a creature here, which is good for Jay. It gives him time to go look for an answer, probably in the form of another removal spell, or something that makes it so that he can make a lot of saplings all at once. Although doesn't seem, seeing that I'm in the tank at this point, doesn't seem like I drew anything that could kill his creatures at that point. Yup, just for clarity's sake, finally deciding to put the dice on there as well. Looks like I'm gonna play creatures. It's another Utopian Icon. Not sure why I play that at this point. Probably because I had to, just trying to get as many as many Thalids on the table as I can. And that is a Psychothrope Thalid, which allows me to draw a card if I sacrifice a sapling and pay one. So the pay one is pretty relevant here. So things that Jay wants to get at this point is a Spore Sower Thalid, a removal spell, obviously. Dilly deciding to put a +1/+1 counter on his Master Biomancer, and there's a Thalid that allows you to make saplings for just removing 2 spore counters. I forgot the name. I'll put it up here. And yeah, so those cards are what Jay needs at this point. Dilly's still in the tank. No creatures yet, although this looks like a pretty big turn for Dilly. And it looks like Prime Speaker Sagana. So now, at this point, Dilly gets a million, billion, gajillion counters on his Sagana, because he has a 3/5 creature, which makes Sagana come into play with 3 +1/+1 counters, and an additional 3 +1/+1 counters from the Master Biomancer. But here's Jay making 2 saplings to give the Master Biomancer -2/-2, which makes it so that the Prime Speaker Sagana comes into play with less counters than it would otherwise. Yup, pointing out the interaction. So now, just to make sure that I understand correctly, Prime Speaker Sagana comes into play. The Master Biomancer is at this point a 1/3, which makes it so that the Prime Speaker triggers off the Croconora, which is a 2/4 at this point, and he gets one additional counter from the Master Biomancer because its power is 1, which makes it so that Dilly gets a 4/4 creature and draws 4 cards. Still pretty good, not as good as a 7/7 creature. There we go. Triggers are resolved. Discussions have been dealt with. Whatever. Things are done. So pretty bad spot again for Jay/me to be in. I've been wishy-washy with the pronouns. My friend is listening. Whatever. Dilly draws cards, points at stuff. I'm not entirely sure what's happening. Passes the turn. There we go. So now, crucial point for Jay, putting spore counters on all of his creatures. At this point in time, Jay can make 1 sapling, which isn't too impressive. Draws a card, hoping for him it's a removal spell. Doesn't look like it is. So, at this point in time, it is pretty difficult to get really fancy because, like I said, Dilly's running away with this game. So Jay makes a sapling with the Utopian Icon and sacrifices it to make a green mana, and he plays seems like 2 spells. Ooh, a Shell Dweller, which is a 0/5, pretty good blocker at this point. And another Germinator. So again, optimizing his potential sapling output. Just sort of clogging up the ground so that Dilly can't quite come in and deal the final punch yet. So, looking what Dilly is going to do. The Bow of Nylea in this case, proving some interesting tension because it allows him to grow his Master Biomancer at instant speed, interact with potential flyers that Jay has, gaining life should he ever be in a situation where he needs to race with Jay, which makes the race more favorable for him, and getting back 4 cards. So if Jay should at some point be able to deal with all the Biomancers, Dilly can still sort of put them back in his deck if there is a way for him to shuffle his deck. So Jay's dad is being a bell end at the side of the table. But anyway, so should there be a scenario in which Dilly has all of his Biomancers dealt with, because of the Bow of Nine, because of spells Jay gets, or whatever, it doesn't really, doesn't seem like it's going to happen at this board state, but there's a lot of things that can happen still. But should that happen, Dilly still has the option of putting them on the bottom of his library, and then should he have a shuffle spell, just shuffle all of them back. Looks like again a pretty big turn for Dilly here. That looks like a bio shift, and what that does is it allows Dilly to put the +1/+1 counters that he has on one creature, put them on another creature. So he puts the 3 +1/+1 counters that were on Price because Agana, puts them on the Master Biomancer. So everything that now comes into play with 6 +1/+1 counters. Looks like an activation from the Bow of Nylea to put a +1/+1 counter on the Master Biomancer. That's what happens. And now, all creatures come into play with 7 +1/+1 counters, and that is a big flyer. That is a 7/8 flying creature for Dilly there. Yep, Jay lets it happen, gives him some dice just to be nice, and that's a big flyer for Dilly. So, and this sort of illustrates what I was talking about earlier. Right now, because the Master Biomancer is lying there unimpeded largely, Dilly can now run away with the game. It also doesn't. Oh, and that's a Gyre Sage, so that's even more potential mana, but also potential beaters for Dilly. Jay incorrectly saying that it would only get 5 +1/+1 counters, but it would get a lot more. Also growing the Croconora and the what's that called? The flyer, whatever. Whatever. So Dilly now has a lot of imposing looking flying creatures, doing some combat math, probably deciding that it isn't really worth it to attack, because it would just get chump blocked. Not entirely sure. Decides to attack with the Master Biomancer. Oh, because he did the math. And Jay currently not having enough power on the board to effectively kill the Master Biomancer. It has 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 power, 6 power, 6, 7 power. Not enough anyway to kill the Master Biomancer, or at least not without losing all of his board. Which means that Jay is going to block with the Utopium icon to not take 7 to the face. Loses potential saplings, but at this point doesn't seem like the Utopium icon would be that constructive to begin with. Upkeep again, putting more spore counters on the creatures. So this is what makes the deck kind of interesting to me, at least. This is one of my oldest decks, like I said in the intro video. I had this deck for a long time, then took it apart, and last summer decided to put it back together again. Not entirely sure why I did, probably because of Modern Masters. Drawing a card, doesn't look too enthusiastic, probably not what you need at this point. There's 2 potential saplings on the table. So it looks like Jay's making a sapling and making mana with it. I think that's what's happening. Let's see how this resolves. Yup, making mana with it. Green mana, is it? Yeah. There we go. 5 mana creature. And yeah, that's a pretty big dude. So had Jay drawn that Sporloth Ancient earlier in the game, this might have been a point, or he might have had a bit more of a chance to swing the game around. But because it's so late at this point, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anymore. Doing some mathsies, swishing cards around as you do when you do math. At this point, Jay can make 1, 2, 3, 4 potential saplings, which can mean some interesting things going on, some chump blocks, some shrinking of creatures. Next turn, there is some more potential saplings, so I mean, it's not necessarily over. Oh, looks like Jay's gonna make 4 saplings. Huh. Making 4 saplings just to have them on the table, I guess, as chum blockers, showing that he's willing to commit that, make that and sort of commit that board and make that block. Doesn't seem like Dilly has sweepers. Maybe something like Ether Spouts or Cyclonic Rift, something like that, but doesn't seem like Dilly has it. Or if he has it, like he's going to... Oh, yeah, he does have the Gyre Sage. So should Dilly have Cyclonic Rift, this game would be over very quickly. But again, doesn't seem like he has it at this point. Not at this point. So Jay showing he has 1 card in hand, not a removal spell, obviously. Again, Dilly doing some math, calculating the amount of power Jay has on the table, with the 4 saplings as well. So the safest attack for Dilly to make at this point is just with his flying creature, just sort of get in there. Jay doesn't have any flying blockers or things with reach at this point, so that is the safest attack, or just the best attack to make at this point. Seems like that's what he's gonna do. Yep, we see it coming in. And Jay sadly swishing cards around. Could see a potential sacrifice happening here. Ooh, and the Gyre Sage coming in as well. That is interesting. And it looks like Dilly's considering attacking with the Croconora. Yep, Croconora's coming in as well. So the bird does 8 to Jay, and the Croconora and Gyre Sage get blocked by saplings. And it seems like Jay's sacrificing one of the saplings to make mana and another one to draw a card with the Psychotroped Thalid in order to sort of dig towards an answer, which is a pretty solid, pretty decent plan, I think, because shrinking the flying creature doesn't really shrink or alter Dilly's clock at this point. Not significantly enough to make it worth not drawing a card for. So we're in the upkeep step again. See Jay swishing around dice again. At this point he can make 1, 2, yeah, just 3 saplings, which is another potential bunch of cards. There we go. Grab that card. That is a Guildgate. Comes into play tapped again, just like Dilly's Guildgate came into play tapped. Again, good early drop, not so good later in the game. Jay has been having somewhat, not had his land drops, that just didn't really hit that many land drops, but because of the Psychothrope, or the Utopia Mycon, was able to get mana when he needed to. See Jay doing some maths here, passing the turn back to Dilly. And end of turn, Dilly activating the bow. Or playing, oh, the Shamble Shark. He's so shambly and shark-like.
He's a crab shark. A crab shark. Just a shark who's also a crab. It's ridiculous, especially with 9 power. Just a ridiculous shark crab. Crabby shark. Also evolving all the other evolved creatures on the table. Such a good card. And also a shark crab. And we also see a Chimera, Horizon Chimera, there we go. Jay attempting to kill the Horizon Chimera in response to its coming into play trigger, realizing that doesn't work because it comes into play with the counters and then just sort of consigning to his fate. So Horizon Chimera is an interesting card in this deck. It's good. It's good though. It works. Gains Dilly some incidental life, which is always important. Flash creatures are really good with the evolve mechanic. Just having the threat of flashing in a creature at any point alters combat math severely, so that does make it worth it, I think. Obviously, Horizon Chimera more of a limited all-star than it is a constructed staple, although it did good work in the banned flash deck that existed for a short while in standard, whatever. Here we see Dilly drawing a card, getting dice for the life he drew off the Horizon Chimera, and we see Jay desperately trying not to get killed, although desperately trying to is probably what it's going to amount to. Dilly is lining up the attack, just having his 2 really big flying creatures attack. Jay drawing a card as a last resort with his 2 saplings. Let's see what he got. That does not seem like a removal spell. Ooh, doing it again. Making 2 more saplings. Sacrificing 1 for mana, another 1 for a card. Is that it? That is not it. He's gonna do it once more. Yes, he is. Making 1 more sapling. Paying the manas. This could be it. And it's not. Poor me. Here we go. That's the hand. Jay dies. There's the handshake. And that's it.
Just,
But Jay, I have more questions.
what is the question, Dilly?
Is this going to be a weekly thing, this playing of Magic?
Maybe. No promises. I'll try.
Are there any format restrictions?
No. Right now,
Just casual? Alright.
right now, or at least no. It's just whatever we feel like. Today we're gonna play casual. I really want to play Commander because that's my favorite format ever, and because it's amazing. Yeah.